Morning, Steve Freed with the Morning Grain Comments. Prices are lower overnight, and the beans we're seeing some weakness because of lower domestic soybean basis levels. The fact that China is not buying U.S. soybeans and the slowdown in U.S. crush rates. Some people think the $16 level on the July may be rationed the demand, and now we have to wait for some kind of bad weather to move prices higher. We also note that soybean oil is a little bit lower. There's talk about Argentina passing a bill that would increase 500,000 tons of soybean oil exports for biofuel. And here domestically, when we reach 70 cents a pound, we may have gotten to the point where soybean oil kind of priced itself out of some biofuel demand. Watching China lower crush margins, we're watching pretty closely their economy and their demand for meat and whether that impacts the imports of soybeans. Over in the corn market, yesterday we rallied on strong domestic basis levels and also China buying corn. Overnight, I think we're lower or unchanged because of the 96 million acres that a private group estimated U.S. 2020 acres. That kind of trumps possibly the increase in U.S. corn exports due to the lower Brazilian crop and also the talk of higher demand down the road, bringing the carryout down for 21-22 to maybe 1,200. If you get that 96 million acres, the carryout would go to 1,900 and it would be bearish prices. We had a two-sided trade yesterday, talk about Argentina imposing export taxes off its support. But then when the crop tour came out in Kansas with yields at 20-year highs, some yields in the 59 to 60 bushels per acre versus the 5-year averages around 42. And maybe 2 years ago, the tour had a 47 yield. So I think that offered some weakness in the wheat market. We're also expecting to see some rains early next week across the dry areas of Canada prairies and the northern spring wheat areas. U.S. 2-week weather forecast looks favorable for crops. That might be also pulling some weather premium out of the marketplace overnight. Looks like we'll have normal to above temps, which crops need to get up and go. And we also have normal precip, which will help topsoil conditions where it's dry. I think the outside markets is waiting for Fed comments today, see if they're dovish. We have the stocks lower, we have the dollar higher, and most commodities are lower going into that report. So basically, I think what we're seeing is kind of a pullback from maybe some high prices because of demand, and also concern about U.S. 2021 supply and concern about Brazil supply. And so we're just kind of watching pretty closely to see what the weather does down the road. Our weather guy looks for mostly favorable central Midwest conditions, at least until mid-June. Then we'll start seeing it for ridge develops across the plains and the U.S. Western Corn Belt. As always, these are my thoughts and not those of ADM Investor Services. Have a safe and profitable trading day. And remember, always treat people like you yourself would like to be treated.